Warning. The Dub Talk podcast may contain language and content that may not be suitable for younger viewers. Listener discretion is advised. Also, there's a spoiler warning in effect for the entirety of the anime Sirius the Jaeger. If you have yet to see the series in full, please be advised. And of course, the views and opinions expressed are that of the individual participants and do not reflect upon the Dub Talk podcast as a whole. Now, my children of the night, it is time for us to count how many arcs we will discover tonight. 1, 2, 3. Oh wait, no. There are only 2 arcs. But, bad count impression aside, thank you for tuning in, and please enjoy as we sink our teeth into the delicious, violent, bloody action thriller that is Sirius.
Hello and welcome to Dub Talk, where a group of vampire hunters and werewolves come together to discuss duds, both old and new. My name is Jet, and tonight I'm joined by Roots.
Werewolf? There! Wolf!
Andrew.
Who knows what we're doing to you in the shadows?
Yeah, and this was originally
Hello, my
supposed to
name is
be-
Megan, and I just ordered more Nendos because I must have all my fucking sons. I also love my boyfriend, Roots of Justice, a lot because he's an adorable set of pugs wearing a trench coat. Oh, and let's not forget, Andrew wants to fuck Sans and needs a body pillow. All hail our Lord and Savior, Gritty!
Excuse me, madam. You sound different today.
No, I don't. What are you fucking talking about?
So this was originally supposed to be a Team Grimgar episode, but but things happened. So instead of Megan, we instead have our temp. We have our temp Lilac.
I feel so dirty hailing Gritty now as my Lord and Savior. God, I need to wash my mouth with soap. Fuck.
No, it's perfect.
That's
It's beautiful.
okay. We'll get you around one of these days.
No, you're not. No, you're not. Also,
You've only seen 1% of my power level.
I mean, you are those pugs in a trench coat, but also, I'm sorry. I'm not sorry, sweetheart. I'm not sorry, Andrew, for the Sans joke.
As you shouldn't be. It's good comedy. So,
Yeah.
anyways, Jet, what the hell are we here for tonight?
So we are here tonight to talk about the dub to the PA Works bloody action series from summer 2018, or, December 2018 for us because Netflix. Sirius the Jaeger. So if you need to know what this show is about, going off of the synopsis on ANN, in the imperial capital in the year 1930, a group of people carrying musical instrument cases land at Tokyo Station. They are called Jaegers, who come to hunt vampires. Among them is a young man with striking serenity and an unusual aura. His name is Yuli, a werewolf whose village was destroyed by vampires. Yuli and the Jaegers engage in a deadly battle over the mysterious holy ark, only known as the Ark of Sirius. So, basically, yeah, this is pre-World War II Japan with vampires.
It's pre-World War II Japan. I was actually thinking, okay, this seems like an oldish setting, but it's before World War II, apparently. Which makes...
Yeah.
They're going for historical sci-fi with this one, which is pretty interesting setting.
See, Jet describes the musical instrument cases, and my thought now goes like mafia horseshit. They never went full mafia on this one though, and it makes me very sad. This isn't Baccano, and I'm very depressed now.
It's also like Japan. I don't think they had the mafia you're thinking of in Japan.
You never know.
Which is a really weird
Could be
thing, because we
could be
literally...
some underground shit.
We literally just recorded Joker game, like, Wednesday. So now we're back to pre-World War II Japan.
You right. Roots and I are back in the rabbit hole on this one again.
So, as always, we will start things off with our ADR staff. And there's actually quite a few names attached to this one for a 12-episode show. So, for our voice directors, we have two people. We have one Christian Lamont and Lucian Dodge. Christian Lamont, you would know more for his scriptwriting credits, but he has also served as a director on Danganronpa 3, the animation, for both the Future and Despair arcs, Tales of the Stereo the X, and Hero Mask. Boy, I really don't want to remember Hero Mask. Lucian Dodge...
I'm guessing he was the California director then for Zestiria and Danganronpa then.
Makes the most sense, yeah.
Apparently, at least according to what I saw at ANN. So, Lucian Dodge, on the other hand, is known more for his work in voice acting, and his only other directing credit in anime at the moment is Little Witch Academia.
Interesting.
As for our adaptive scriptwriters, we have not one, not two, but three people on this show.
Two.
I was about to make that joke, you little shit.
Three scriptwriters.
Andrew, you asshole. I was about to make that joke. You beat me to it.
So our scriptwriters are Joel McDonald, Marilyn Moore, and Tyson Reinhardt. Joel McDonald has worked on such shows as Hunter x Hunter, Fate Stay Night, Unlimited Blade Works, and Claymore.
Hunter, thank you very much.
I don't
Shut up, fedora-wearing asshole.
I don't care if the X is technically silent. That's how I call it.
All right.
Marilyn Moore has done adapted scripts for such shows as Hero Mask, The Asterix War, and Mars Comes In Like a Lion. And lastly, Tyson Reinhardt has done script for such shows as Heavy Object, Brave Witches, and Tokyo Ravens. So, Steph, would you like to start us off?
I suppose, because I watched the entire show today. Huzzah! So, I'm just looking at the staffing real quick here, because, if my recollection serves, Tales of Zestiria and Danganronpa were co-director efforts, right?
Between Lamont and Bevins.
So this is like Christian Lamont's second, his only solo thing at the moment is Hero Mask, but
he's directed a couple of video games as well, most notably Valkyria Chronicles 4.
Yeah.
And then obviously with Lucian Dodge, the only other thing that he's directed is Little Witch Academia. I almost got the wrong Academia show in here.
Young Akko, you too can be a witch.
God damn it. No, but I think the key thing here, and the reason why I'm bringing this up is because Lucian and Christian don't have a lot of directing credits under their belt, and it's the first time we're seeing the two of them work together too. I think that it's actually really solid, considering their first outing together, and they're still fairly new directors. I mean, the casting was solid throughout. The performances were just awesome to me. I mean, right off the bat, the last two characters we'll end up talking about. This is probably for me anyway, the first time I'm actually going to be talking about these two individuals, because I have not had the chance to talk about these two individuals at all. Because this is how often, ladies and gentlemen, I talk about California dubs. Almost never, but usually when Jet drags me into it. But I think it sounds pretty solid, and it's pretty diverse, based on who we're going to be ending up talking about. A mix of familiar voices, a mix of people that I don't really know or have really talked about. And then there are the one or two people where it's like, fuck you, that's not that person. Fuck you, that's not that person. Everybody's probably going to know exactly who I'm talking about when I say that. And in terms of the script, I'm not too familiar with Marilyn Moore's script work, so I can't really comment there. Joel obviously has done quite a bit of Funimation stuff, but he has drifted over to California on occasion. Tyson is the interesting one. Has Tyson ever done a California script?
One, but we're probably not going to get to that show.
So yeah, considering two out of the three scriptwriters are more Dallas, Texas regulars, and then we have one actual California scriptwriter. I think it's very interesting having this team coming about here, and I think for pretty much it's a pretty straightforward script. There's nothing deviating away from the material or anything like that. Granted, again, I've only watched the English dub today. I haven't watched the Japanese at all. Nor am I probably going to ever go back to Japanese, in all honesty. But I'd say overall, in terms of director and script, it's pretty solid throughout, and with some very interesting casting choices and performances throughout. So I'd say it's really solid, in all honesty, especially for a Netflix show.
Okay, Roots?
Yeah, the overall the direction's pretty solid. I'm actually kind of curious if Lucian Dodge has ever, directed video games before. I did not have a chance to look that up before I started recording. But I know Christian Lamani has quite a bit of experience on that side of the industry, so, direction's pretty solid. One of the things that was kind of weird, because I'm used to it, but I know not to expect it, is despite a lot of the characters having different backgrounds and countries of origins, there were no accents.
I forgot about that point, yeah. For me, I would have, not even noticed it, and then, what was it? It was at least halfway through the show where all of a sudden we learned, Philip, his homeland is London, and then Fallon is Ireland, and we're like, oh, hold on. I forgot about that. That was a point I was gonna make, too.
The big beefy boy from the Emerald Isle.
And then I think, Yuli and Mikhail are from, Russia or some other part of...
Yeah, and it was weird because I'm pretty sure that when I looked up info on Fallon, they said he was Irish American, so maybe that's why. But
okay,
I mean, but still, the second you bring that up, it's I forgot to make that point entirely, and I was gonna come back to it, and then Roots beat me to it. It kind of did take me out of it a little bit. All of a sudden, wait, hold on, wait.
But I mean, it's really no more distracting than Stardust Crusaders. So
I need to finish that.
Which the only weird thing was Richard Epcar basically switching it up, but that's neither here nor there. In any case, the scripts are actually pretty solid. It's kind of cool to see Tyson Reinhardt on it in particular, because he is, from what I understand, he is kind of a buff of that time period. So it's nice to have somebody who has a little bit of homework under their belt toward...
Oh, I didn't know that.
Pre and during World War II era stuff. So, yeah.
Well, Tyson could be my best friend. I love World War II stuff.
So, very solid all around. Good job.
Okay, Andrew?
I definitely say that, for the most part, the script is pretty alright and does its job. The only thing I would even consider... This is not even, Okay, what I'm gonna say, this is not a fault of the show. This is not a fault of the adaptive writers and what they did. It's the fault with the fact that the word serious is used as a proper noun for the entirety of the show. So you have to figure out when people are saying serious as in the serious or serious as in are you serious quite regularly, and it gets a bit hard to keep track of that. It's pretty good, but I get very confused sometimes.
Well, I easily kept track of it, actually.
I did too.
I didn't have that problem
It's just a personal thing that I think bugged me, and it's not the fault of the English dub, it's the fault of the actual narrative using the word serious as your race MacGuffin, basically.
Race / Deus Ex Machina MacGuffin.
More or less. But I think for the most part, everybody sounds pretty good. The dialogue's a lot of fun, especially when a lot of the characters are just kind of interacting and hanging out with one another. And when things gotta get dramatic and brotherly lovey, it works out pretty well.
Brotherly lovely.
Voice direction's pretty solid for the most part. A lot of the background characters and one-offs are pretty fun. Sometimes a little bit goofy, but I think everybody does a pretty good job sounding very convincing or very into it, with major props especially to the leading actors at the helm of this, because they're two actors I've become very impressed with, who very much have to carry a lot of the action and drama on this show almost single-handedly, and I think the direction from Christian and Lucian do a very solid job all around.
Okay. As for me, well, I have heard like some of Lucian Dodge's work as a director with Little Witch Academia. Between this and Hero Mask, I've only kind of recently gotten a feel for what Christian Lamont is like as one. Direction-wise, I don't think it's quite as good as what I heard from Hero Mask, which is like the only good thing I'll ever say about that show. But this is pretty solid, and Lucian and Christian managed to get some pretty good performances out of fresher actors and some really strong ones out of some of the veterans in this show. There's like maybe one performance I was like a little shaky on, but aside from that, I didn't have like any serious complaints about the voice work. As far as the script goes, you'd think that with 3 different script writers on the show, you would potentially end up with an adaptation that feels like, you know, maybe a little all over the place. But there's a lot of consistency here, and a lot of it more or less reads as though the same person wrote everything. Nothing about the translation was particularly spiced up, but, you know, since this is a period piece and, you know, it's a pre-World War II thing, it kind of makes sense that the script is free of any modern slang or anything like that. And it comes off as fairly believable for what the setting is. So, yeah, all in all, I thought it was pretty solid on both fronts. And with that, I guess we're going to move on to characters.
What kind of characters are we discussing first and foremost?
A lot of characters,
they're wacky,
sweetie.
they're goofy, they're all too...
The wacky. That's one way to describe them.
They're all goofy, the Addams Family.
Oh my god, I didn't know that was where you were going with this.
No, I was trying to go for
yes,
that, but I couldn't remember the whole song. So...
Were you trying to do the Addams Family? Okay. See, if this were the Addams Family, that would imply the one guy in this scenario fucks, and I don't think anybody'd fuck with a face like that.
No, he's the uncle.
Oh.
This guy's the uncle.
Fair enough. Anyways, please introduce our Addams Family, if you will.
So, yeah, so we're starting off with
it.
some of our, like, less important vampires. We have Clarwine, Agatha, and Tamara, and Larissa. Clarwine is a mad scientist who serves the vampires and is devoted to creating artificial life. Well, and by artificial life, I mean Frankenstein. Agatha is one of the vampire royals who drinks the blood of young men to maintain her youth. While Tamara and Larissa are Yevgrom's, like, aides, I guess. Basically, it's just, like...
He basically just keeps little Oli gothic
basically it's like, what if
him?
the Olsen twins were vampires?
Pretty much. That's the best description. Which is very depressing.
That's a phrase I've heard tonight. This is going to be a weird episode.
Anyway, playing Clarwine, we have Joe Osmond. For Agatha, we have Allegra Clark. For Tamara, we have Jennifer Lossie. And for Larissa, we have Jackie Lastra. Joe Osmond has done such characters as Baron Zeppeli from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Season 1, Oscar Webster from Violet Evergarden, and Ender from the Godzilla Planet Trilogy. Allegra Clark has had such roles as Slane from Berserk 2017, Mito from Machia, Where the Promised Flower Blooms, and Peter Hui from Sword Art Online, Go Online. And Jackie Lastra has had such roles as Nika Aoi from Beyblade Burst Turbo, and Io from Grand Blue Fantasy Animation. And as for Jennifer Lossie, this is apparently her first anime credit as far as I can tell. So, there you go.
I've seen her as a couple of one-offs in JoJo Diamond is Unbreakable.
Okay.
See, I don't have any notes for anyone except Allegra. So this ought to tell you how much I remember the other three performances.
You just gotta wing it and just pretend like you have notes.
I know, I'm trying. So
far, it just seems like you have a very bad poker face.
Poker face. No, I can't go that route. I already went a different hole this morning. I went down a different rabbit hole before we record. I can't go back anywhere. Shit. Don't make me go back into the rabbit hole. I'll start with Joe. With Joe as Carwine. These names. Only because he's goofy and weird, and I kind of enjoy it. I have a gripe with the show, though. You can't bring up Frankenstein's monster and just not go full out with it. I'm sorry. Like, I think I went into the little chat we had earlier, and I was like, is this really a whole tale about Frankenstein's monster? And then I think it was Roots. He was like, nah, it's just a subplot that they don't come back to. I'm like, why? like, you can't go vampires and werewolves, basically. You can't complete the Holy Trinity and just half-ass it with Frankenstein's monster. Okay? Sorry. That's the problem with the show, though. But Joe was kind of fantastic. Like, I completely forgot who he was until Jet started reading the credits for him. And I got to JoJo and Violet Evergarden. And I'm like, huh. It's this guy, isn't it? It's the bastard who made me cry. Oh, shit.
He's got a pretty versatile resume, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. So I do enjoy the hamtastic goodness that is Carwine here. As for Tamara and Larissa, obviously I've never heard of these two actresses before, ever. But they were a lot of fun. Slightly obnoxious, but probably as royal vampire little girls should be. So I'm not too mad about it. I'm actually mostly here to talk about Allegra Clark, because hot damn. Like, Allegra is, like, very strong and seductive, and she will kick your ass if she needs to. Like, holy mother of freaking God. I think this is the first time I've actually ever been talking about Allegra Clark on an episode, and what a great introduction for me. Holy shit. Agatha is like... She would kick your ass any day of the week, and then you would just die. It's great. Yeah, I think even though she's in there for 2 episodes, which I'm very disappointed she's not in any longer, I really enjoyed it. It's a very strong and powerful performance, and she will cut a bitch. Quite literally, she will cut a bitch. Yeah, I think all of them, despite maybe not having many notes or remembering 3 out of the 4. I enjoy the performances of these ones.
Okay. Roots?
Yeah, I'll start with, Clarwine. I really like the sort of goofy, hammy quality, Joe Ochman gives him. Especially toward the end of the show where basically his course has been run. And he's just... Like, he is just sitting there like a useless background character.
He's just like, Master doesn't love me anymore.
Like, the show just constantly calls him out on it, and it's wonderful.
Yep. It's great. Master doesn't love me anymore. I must do things for Nope. You're done.
Like, it's just hilarious how the show just thwarts him at every turn. But, yeah, Tamara and Larissa, the twins, like, they were good performances. Both were really creepy, and, like, the eerie vampire twins kind of archetype. Like, there's not really much to say about it, even though, like, they're probably 2 of the vampires who get some of the most screen time of the show, but, you know. And, Allegra Clark as Agatha.
That's a lot of A's.
Try saying that 10 times fast.
Let's not.
Yeah, I like how, despite the fact that she only has, like, 2 episodes to work with, like... her character just steals the show every scene she's in. From that first fight scene to later on when she's basically got a sword leg. Like,
again, she will cut a bitch. Literally.
Like, her whole character arc is badass. Allegra Clark is badass in the role. Everybody here did a great job.
Okay. First and foremost, Joe as... I'm gonna be honest, I don't really remember a lot of their names. I don't remember his name the least. All I know is he basically got his face ripped off. He's got a mechanical monocle, and he's a crazy man who wants to fuck a Frankenstein.
God, that's right.
Hold on. Whoa. How did this take a dark turn like this, babe? How?
How is this a dark turn? This is exactly what he
wants to fuck a Frankenstein?
He made it's his baby, and he loves it so, and he wants it to grow up big and strong, and...
Stop it! And he wants to apparently have sex with it, is basically what you're saying.
Look... When you play God out of corpse parts, and you have a face that looks like that, you probably go into some weird places. Anyways, he sounds delightfully extreme, extravagant, and I don't think anybody he works with takes him seriously, despite the fact that he can make literal Frankenstein monsters. Everybody else is like, you're kind of dumb and lame. Let's go find a MacGuffin and basically take over the world. He's like, no, I don't want to do that. I want to make Frankensteins. Pooey.
He's like, master, I want to make Frankenstein.
Like, the funniest part about it is, like, the vampires were probably better off making the Frankensteins.
See, that's why I was saying, like, you don't half-ass a Frankenstein monster plot, you sons of bitches. Like, go full out. Let's go. What the fuck? The horror lover in me is like, why? Why bother with the Frankenstein subplot? I'm sorry, I'm getting very salty about it now. I'm just gonna sit here and stare at my phone and not be an idiot.
Anyways, Joe is very much delightfully extravagant and hammy. The twins... Okay, I need to remember, because out of the 4 of these characters, only one of them comes out alive.
Yep.
Which of the twins is the one that survives?
Tamara.
Thank you.
Yeah, Tamara's the one that lives.
Okay, so the twins very much are delightful, evil, bratty children who don't want to be bothered with any of the work and spend all their time teasing Mikhail, which, in their defense... He's a very easy target. He's a fucking fashion disaster. But they are adorable, bratty little gothic Lolita vampire children who don't want to be bothered with hard work. And it actually is kind of interesting seeing, like, the dynamic between Tamara being like, we're gonna save our race, right? It's like, actually, no, I'm gonna kill everybody. It's like, oh no, that's a bad...
It's like, let me help you.
Hey now, Andrew, be nice to Mikhail. The Scarface look was in when he got it, and he didn't realize you can't undo it.
Fair enough. But yeah, no, these are very extravagant, bratty little children. But there are a ton of weird, extravagant, extra fun. Like, this is not a show I think is meant to be taken seriously. So, just this level of pulp that is these vampire children just fighting Yuli. And the way, I also just love the way they keep saying Yuli. Yuli is like, oh, it's so mocking and condescending. It's great. And finally enough, we have Agatha. Allegra Clark is a ton of fun, and goddammit, this character lasts 2 episodes, but she's probably one of the more interesting vampires here. She's also really hot. Like, she is really hot. She has nails, and she would kill somebody. Like,
so hold on, I need to ask this question to both Andrew and Ruth, because I hear things. Do you want this bitch to step on you?
You know, look.
See, we got the special request to ask Megan this question, from Megan to ask Roots this question because reasons. But now I have to ask my own boyfriend.
Honestly,
as well.
When she still had both flesh vampire legs, maybe. As soon as she got the prosthetic, which probably has like a knife in it, I got a little more skeptical. I thought
She has the other leg, though.
this is true.
So the answer is yes, clearly from you. Clearly I'm learning things about my own boyfriend tonight. This is interesting.
Anyways, look, not judging. Point is, this character is very, like, chaotic, seductive, and really interesting. Has a fun presence, even though she's there for a short amount of time. But Allegra Clark is a very impressive voice actress who, every time I hear more of her, I've been very impressed with what she's capable of doing. She doesn't get that much to do in the show, but she left a lasting impression for what she was able to work with. So, yeah, I enjoyed her.
Okay, I'm back in.
Okay, cool. All right.
Cool. So,
I have no idea what happened there. I'm sorry.
That's fine.
it's
That's
okay.
cool.
Can I go back to the joke?
Go ahead.
So we had technical problems for a second. And while Roots had technical problems, I asked Andrew a question. So I'm going to ask the same question of Roots because I hear things. I hear things, and I got a special request to ask this question of you.
Meat?
Yes, you! Agatha, yeah? Would you have her step on you?
Oh, God. Oh, God. I
You
plead the fifth.
Yes! You can thank your own girlfriend for asking Andrew and I to ask that question. Andrew was gonna segue into it better than I was, and I just fucking ruined it because all of a sudden he jumps in on the bandwagon. I'm like, no, now I have to ask my own boyfriend this question.
Okay, anyways.
You're welcome, Megan.
Back
love you, dear.
on track.
Okay.
What track? What track, Andrew?
Okay, I am going to have to call order. So. Okay, so while they're recovering, I guess I'll go. So I'll start with Allegra Clark since Agatha wasn't really around all that long, but I really enjoyed that performance. I appreciate that there was like a bit of contrast from when she was like first introduced, where Allegra's voice comes off as like mostly sultry and like seductive, as opposed to like after Yuli chops her arm off, where she's all like really rage and aggression. And there was a lot of fun to listen to. She's very much the kind of person who won't take any crap and will absolutely kick your butt if you cross her. So that was a lot of fun. And
oh, it was her arm. Sorry about that. I thought it was her leg.
No, I could.
It was her leg.
It was her leg.
She lost an arm and a leg, but she didn't get a replacement arm. That's fine.
Okay, there we go.
Okay, like for some reason I only had the arm down. I guess I wasn't paying that much attention.
Well, you're half right. You're half right.
Well, you know,
Steps here with
those
the
things
jokes,
do
boys and
cost
girls.
an arm and a leg, so...
God damn it! This is an equivalent exchange right now. Stop it.
Like either way, I do kind of wish the character had a little bit more to do, since I always like to hear Allegra Clark and things. But she did what she needed to do for a starter villain, and she was pretty entertaining to listen to. The standout here for me, though, was definitely Joe Osment as Clarwine, because, like, I almost really couldn't tell that was Joe Osment. Like, I've heard him in a few other shows, and he's had, like, a pretty solid amount of range in the stuff I saw, but this was definitely, like, the highest I've ever heard his voice go, and it was really surprising. And that's not even, like, getting into the level of ham on display in his performance, because he was very clearly having a lot of fun making Clarwine just sound as silly and over the top as possible. And I liked that he was able to make Clarwine's, like, really smug attitude when trying to wipe out the Jaegers, and, like, all that bootlicking when he was, like, begging Yevgron to let him make his Frankenstein vampires. Yeah, that's, like, a real phrase I just said. So, like, both those things sounded like they would come from the same character, and it was really funny. So yeah, it was a lot of fun to listen to, and it really makes me wish we had more opportunities to talk about Joe Osment, because he's really good. As for Jennifer Lossie and Jackie Lastra, the fact that their characters are twins makes their performances sound a little less distinct individually. But I was really impressed at just how well their vocal pitches were able to match well with one another. And while that seemed like a pretty minor thing on paper, it did do a lot to help make their interactions with Yuli sound, very, very creepy. And I really have to give props to Chris and Luch's direction in that respect. Of course, while their voices did sound very similar, I did appreciate that you could still kind of tell who was who. And since Samara was the one who, actually survives, Jennifer Lossie was the one who stood out to me a little bit more. But all in all, I'd say these performances managed to hit their mark, even if I wish some of these had a little bit more to do. But yeah, they were fun.
Just for clarification's sake, though, I know we're saying that Tamara survives. Doesn't she also die on the train?
No, she does.
No,
she
she
lives. She lives.
literally just leaves through the window.
Yeah.
I thought there was dust and shit. I thought she succumbed to the fucking disease that was going on.
No, I'm pretty sure she's alive.
You sure? Because there was dust and shit all over the place, and we don't see her leave the window.
The window is open.
No, the window wasn't. He opened it a minute later.
I'm pretty, I watched the show twice, so I'm pretty sure I should know this, but I'm pretty sure she survived.
Doesn't really matter.
Now I have to go back to this. Hold on.
Okay, we are.
Now this is gonna bug me.
Now we are actually really getting off track. Okay.
Oh wow.
It's gonna bug me now. Don't mind me.
We'll just call it a metaphor. Call it a day.
Yeah.
Fine.
If you don't get it, it's a metaphor. There you go. There's art.
There's our bullshit explanation, boys and girls.
Yeah. So next up on our character list, we had some of our human side characters. Or, well, seemingly human in one case. We have Ryoko Naoe, Hitomi Iba, and Bishop. Ryoko is the young daughter of Baron Naoe, who develops a crush on Yuli and finds herself thrust into the world of the Jaegers, while Major Iba is a major for the Japanese Imperial Army who also works undercover as a news reporter and ends up investigating the vampires. As for Bishop, he's introduced as another Jaeger, only for it to be revealed that he's actually a British spy, only for it to be revealed that he is actually a vampire, and only for it to actually turn out that he is somehow all of the above and also wants revenge against the vampires for being made into one and slaughtering all his comrades.
Okay.
Yeah, so
we have to throw 5 plot twists at the end of the series. Because why not?
He just looks like a cowboy gunslinger, but he's also British, but he's also a vampire. And also he wants
okay.
He's a cowboy, British gunslinger, vampire.
Steel horse.
And I want to bring up, literally all of these plot twists somehow happened literally within the span of a 2-minute conversation, and it still somehow makes sense.
Yeah, it's oh, okay, I believe this. This sudden it's not even a 180. It's not even a 360. It's you go around the planet 5 fucking times with these goddamn plot twists for this one fucking guy. What the shit?
It's a 720 backflip ollie thingamajig.
Look, at this point, near the end, they basically were okay, let's see how far this train can go.
Let's see how far we can take this train. We're not even going, we're going past the station. There's no end destination today.
We Tony Hawk Pros.
Let's see if we can jump. Let's see if we can jump Springfield Gulch. Thank you.
Okay. Actually plays these characters. So for Ryoko, we have Reba Burr. For Iba, we have Greg Chun. And for Bishop, we have Gret George. Reba Burr has done such roles as Reiko Ichinose from Florence of Piano, Athena from Saint Seiya and the Lost Canvas, and Pony Goodlight from The Lost Song. Greg Chun has played such characters as James Blood from Hero Mask, Ikago from Hunter x Hunter, and Kuronasi from Twin Star Exorcist. Lastly, Grant George has done such roles as Lancer from Fate Zero, Koga Amagi from Zetman, and and everyone's favorite character from that show, Iok Kujan from Mobile Suit Gundam Iron Blooded Orphan Season 2.
Fuck! I forgot about Iok. I hate his bitch ass.
It's going over my head. The Gundam talk is going over my head.
Okay, all you need to know is like his character is like literally the worst. So
he is actually the worst, and he is an idiot.
He's also in Skippy. Yes.
Yeah. Yes, he is.
I'm gonna get my people wrong if I'm being stupid.
Okay.
Again.
Yes, he is in Skip Beat. He is.
Good.
All right.
Yes.
He's that asshole.
Yes, he is that guy.
He's that asshole. Jen and I are just like, yep. Oh god. So going into these performances then, because I'm assuming we're good and you want me to go first. Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, good. So I'll start with Reba, because I completely forgot who Reba was, and then I looked in the credits and I forgot she was Catalea in Violet. And I'm just like, this is a completely different tone of voice than the last time I heard her in, so I'm actually really impressed with that. And considering with Ryoko as a character, she's a lovesick puppy, yes, but she also has this spunk and this fire about her that I actually really enjoy Reba portraying in the performance, because Ryoko is sure the main joke that she's involved with, like the running joke for her, is yes, she has a crush on Yuli, but she also is set to be the next head of her family. She has a lot of pride with her family, wants to like get out there, see the world, just so she can understand more and actually like lead her family as the next head. So I have to commend her for all that, and one with being such a young age, and considering like during that time period for women in general too. I mean, that's pretty badass if you were to consider that in historical context as well. So I really enjoy that Reba was able to be like a bit of a spitfire and kind of strong-willed and spunky at the same time. It was fun. Though again, with her being having the running joke of having a crush on Yuli, it did distract on occasion from Ryoko's character in general, but that's more the fault of the show and not Reba herself. Greg Chun as Major Iba. I'm trying to remember the last time I heard Greg Chun. Ugh. Why is Bungo coming to mind right now? Why?
He was in that show.
Was he the
He was the old guy from the
Black
Port
Lizard
Mafia.
leader. Thank you. That's exactly who I'm thinking of. So this is actually a little bit different. Honestly, it's a little bit different. Not an old man, obviously, but even then, his character of that show, he didn't sound completely that old, which is actually really good. Greg, I think, he's using a bit more of a tenor baritone voice compared to what he did with Bungo, but in terms of the character himself, Major Iba has kind of a broader view of the world, or he's trying to expand his horizons a bit throughout the course of the show, because like I wanted to kick this motherfucker into the sun because he's an idiot at first. Like it's like, oh, this group is involved with all of this somehow, they are the bad guys. It's like, are you fucking kidding me? Are you fucking kidding me? I wanted to punch this motherfucker like several times because he was that much of an idiot. And then you finally get on the train and he actually learns what's going on. At that point, it's like, okay, now he's gonna stop being an idiot. Thank God. And I really enjoy the performance because he has a broader view of the world, and he also tries to learn and understand everything. So he has this militaristic pride about him and his duty and his work, but he also has a good head on his shoulders and understanding, like, oh, this is actually what's going down. There's actually more to this than what meets the eye and what everybody else knows. So I really enjoyed the performance quite a bit from him. And then Bishop, this amalgamation of plot twists. Like, what the actual living hell is this person? Wow. For a character that really only comes in the last third of the show, I think I did enjoy Grant George's performance. It did remind me, unfortunately, a little bit of, I can't remember the character's name. It's Skippy. Jet. The character's name is Skippy.
I'm pretty sure it's Kyo. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Kyo. Like, I had a brain fart too about that.
I don't have any brain fart right now, but you know where I'm going with this. It sounds similar to that character because that character is also an asshole, and Bishop does have slight remnants of being that jerk, but I do have to give him credit because he's the first actual vampire character that Yuli is actually willing to work with because of Bishop's motivations, and to kind of see not only that wall that Grant George has to kind of have with Bishop, but to also see those glimmers of truth behind them. It's actually very interesting, and especially it seems like this character shouldn't be complex in this short span of time, especially with all the plot twists. But he somehow manages to have more than just a surface level appeal to it. And it's actually really fascinating to see this kind of performance from Grant George. So overall, I really enjoyed the 3 performances here. If I really had to pick a standout, oh god, it's hard. I think because I liked her spunky fire that much, I'd have to say for me, Reba as Ryoko was the standout for the 3.
Oh.
Also, just entering in quickly, it was Sho Fuo.
Thank you. Sho Fuo.
Okay, there we go.
Thank you, sweetie. This is why you're here. Thank you. Appreciate you.
I was like, yes. Okay, yes, we're sorry. Please don't kill us, Gigi.
Forgive us, Gigi, for we have sinned.
Anyways, but yeah, okay.
Okay, Roots.
Reba vs. Ryoko. I honestly didn't even know it was her when I was first watching the show. It sounded like somebody else completely different, and I really like that when actors are capable of doing that. I really like Greg Chun's Iba, because like Steph was saying, he's a bit of a dumbass when you first meet him about everything.
He's absolute dumbass. Like, not gonna front.
And he kind of ends up becoming like the lovable dumbass by the end of the show. I really like the little monologue he gets with Ryoko in the last episode. Like, I thought that was really cool, where he's basically just trying to figure out what she wants to do with her life, and she kind of talks about that. And oh boy, once again, Grant George gets done dirty.
Still not as bad as some other scenarios, but he tries to be a hero, and then yeah.
Well, you try your best, but you don't succeed.
Lights will guide you home.
Thank you, Roots. Yes.
Coldplay, ladies and gentlemen. But yeah, I actually kind of have to laugh, because, like, Grant George's characters always seem to be getting done dirty.
He does.
Like, even in stuff like Bleach.
Who the hell was he in Bleach?
He was, what's his name's lieutenant?
He was Aizen's lieutenant.
No, he was the Fox-Eye dude's lieutenant.
Fox-Eye dude, my bad.
Oh, honestly, look, let's be real, everybody. Bleach gets done dirty one way or another.
God damn it.
But I really like how Grant George is basically able to roll with the punches of Bishop. Like, that character goes through so many changes to his characters so quickly. Like, I get the feeling the writers didn't exactly know what they wanted to do with him at first, so they just kind of threw everything at the wall to see what stuck, and it all stuck.
When you try your best, but you don't succeed. It's gonna equate to multiple things.
But yeah,
you're welcome, boys.
all three of, like, the minor player human characters, like, they all have, like, really fun moments, and I like them all. Good job.
Okay. So, as for me, I'll start off with, major...
You missed someone. Oh, no, wait, hold on. No, I don't think we missed anyone. Never mind, Jet.
I'm sorry.
Anyways, so starting off, I think I'll start off with Major Iba. He's a very odd character who definitely seems very suspicious, like he's got a lot more going on than you typically expect, but he kind of eventually comes around, starts helping them with the vampires, though in the grand scheme he doesn't do that much. But I do think Greg Chun has this very good casual sly man. Like, he's got a little more under the hood than you'd expect going for him. Definitely seems like he's playing it coy, trying to come down to the truth. And I think it's very interesting to see him interact, especially seeing him interact with Ryoko, who is a character I actually was not expecting to like at first, because at first she's just kind of like a cute little high school girl who does cool katana stuff and has a crush on an edgy bad boy, which, let's be real, everybody's had that at some point. But she actually gets a lot of really cool moments, especially when she's just basically standing her ground when it's like defending the house from the vampire attack, and she's the one taking action while her dad's too afraid to do anything. Or the fact that Yuli is basically freaking out and going wolf boy on her, and she doesn't budge a bit, which was really cool. And the one moment where she gets to do something really cool, where she just gets the sword and she chucks that guy in
She's
half.
the undercover badass of the show. She's like the undercover badass. That's why I love her so much as a character, because she's just such a spitfire. It's great.
It's a shame both of these characters are pretty much left in the cold, quite literally, in the last third of the show. Because when they do get to do things, they're actually really cool, and Ryoko has this very distinguished, fascinating voice. I know it's not fair to compare a lot of voice actors to each other, but she sounds very on par to Sarah Williams, and I really enjoy Sarah Williams a lot as an actress as well. So that is like, they have a very similar tone and cadence, but she does this really great job making Ryoko this spunky, modern, girl who's got a crush on a bad vampire boy, which, it's okay, give or take a couple decades, teenage girls will be into furries sooner or later. and then there's Bishop, and Grant George is a very fun, fascinating guy with a very distinct sounding dude bro voice, but he's also a gunslinger badass who is also a vampire, who's also a Secret Service, who also becomes a good guy in the end, because near the end of the show, the moral is effectively, actually, I think we can work with vampires after all and make world peace and stuff. And that's kind of cool there. It's like, you know what? This guy who's going to be an asshole, actually, he's going to work with us, and he's going to fight with us. Also, he can fly, and he shoots a little vampire gothic Lolita girl in the face.
Yep.
So he gets to be cool and do some things before he eventually gets killed by the main vampire bad guy. But Grant George is a lot of fun as this character, and he can fly, and he's very fun, and he's very weird, but I very much had a fun time enjoying when he was on screen.
Alright, so as for me, okay, got this proper this time. So I'll start off with Major Iba, since I don't have, like, quite as much to say on him as I do the other two. So I haven't really gotten, like, the opportunity to talk about Greg Chun before. And it's kind of a shame, because he really has impressed me with a lot of his recent stuff. Iba's a pretty interesting character that he operates as a military spy, and, like, I kind of like how Greg provided, like, a very, like, subtle but pretty effective contrast between, like, the more casual tone when Iba gives off whenever he's, like, pretending to be a civilian, and then, like, the more, like, stern and hardened military man when he's, like, in the uniform. I mean, of course, since Iba is a military man, I was, like, maybe a little bit worried as to what exactly they were going to do with him. Since considering he works under the Imperial Japan of the 1930s, and they weren't very heroic to say the least. So I very appreciate that he's just the kind of guy who mostly operates under his own personal interests. And Greg did a very good job of making him seem like the kind of guy who just kind of does what he's just kind of doing whatever he can to get by, which is a pretty decent compromise there. Raymond Burr as Ryoko, on the other hand, was a lot of fun, and like you guys were saying, a lot more so than I expected her to be. When we were first introduced to this character and she immediately started crushing on Yuli, I kind of rolled my eyes a bit because I figured, okay, she's going to be dead in like 2 episodes. But however, not only did she make it through the end of the show unscathed, but she also showed that she's willing to fight if she has to, like when she just casually decapitates a vampire. And I thought that was pretty refreshing. Raymond definitely brought a lot of spunk and energy to Ryoko that really kind of made you want to root for her. And I ended up finding her pretty charming. In a lot of ways, she honestly kind of reminded me a lot of, like, early Orihime from Bleach. And by early Orihime, I mean specifically before she became a perpetual damsel in distress. And,
remember that. Pepperidge Farm remembers.
Yeah.
The less I remember, the better. Move on.
Yeah. So she made the character sound like so dorky and adorable that I really couldn't help but like her. And, like I said, I really wasn't expecting to care for Ryoko much, but Rainbow really managed to sell me on her, and, she deserves some serious props. Lastly, as for Grant George as Bishop, I also enjoyed this one a bit more than I expected to. When we first meet Bishop, he seems like your standard cowboy archetype, and Grant George plays him with the usual natural suaveness that you kind of generally expect from a Grant George performance, albeit like maybe a little bit gruffer. However, when the shoe drops and we learn that Bishop is actually a vampire, Grant adds a little bit of extra edge to his voice and helps to make Bishop sound like maybe a little bit more intimidating. It helps to make the character sound a lot more distinct, especially when he attempts to get his revenge on the vampire twins. But much like with the arm from Fate Zero, the thing that stood out to me the most about Grant's performance was in the character's very last dying moments. Because once again, the level of rage in his voice when he dies, and he told Yuli to avenge him was really terrifying. And it just reminded me that Grant George is really good at what he does, even if what he does is die a lot. So, yeah.
Die a lot? What? God damn it.
So yeah, all 3 of these performances gonna come up for me.
Grant George, voice acting as Leomon.
Oh my god, no!
I don't know about Leomon, but I do know he is one Leon.
God damn it, babe!
Da. Spoilers.
Okay, and I guess.
Sorry, I need to do one thing before we move on. You're gonna fucking kill me.
Stephanie, that is actually getting cut because YouTube is already fucking us enough as it is already.
I didn't play it for very long, though.
Doesn't matter, hon.
No! Keep it in! Sorry, I really had to bring the joke back again. I'm sorry. I sent the message to Roots. I'm like, wait, what's the Coldplay song? He's like, I don't remember. I'm like, wait, I
don't
found
remember the name of it. It's just a sad Coldplay song.
It's called Fix You, by the way.
Okay. Bring it in, hon.
Okay, I must say, you were being a very good Megan stand-in.
You can't fucking stop me, Andrew! This is how shit works tonight, sweetheart!
Okay, alright, so seriously moving on. So next up, we have the 3 Jaegers who belong to the same squad as Julie. We have Dorothea, Fallon, and Philip. Dorothea is Professor Willard's right-hand assistant and a firearms expert. Fallon is a bulky Irish-American and kind of the big guy of the group, while Philip is the youngest member and holds a grudge against Yuli because his parents were killed by Sirius.
Let's put it like this. Dorothea's a babe, Fallon's a big, beefy boy, and Philip is that kind of character that Megan would love.
Yeah. Yeah.
What, the adorable little goober?
The adorable little goober who she will proceed to call a twink at least 12 dozen times. Calling you out, Megan!
Okay,
she's gonna have words with you.
Okay, so for Dorothea, we have Tamara Ryan. For Fallon, we have Xander Mobius. And for Philip, we have Eric Scott Kimmerer. Tamara Ryan's credits are mostly in video games, but some of her other anime work includes Android 18 and Vanos in the Toonami Asia dub of Dragon Ball Super.
Oh, right! That was a thing!
That is still a thing, I believe.
No, it's not, actually. It got, I think after 26 episodes, it was discontinued.
Yeah, because I think they just flat out got rid of Toonami Asia.
That sucks. Okay, so she was also Fallon in Manga the Adventure of Sinbad. Xander Mobius has done such roles as Joker for Persona 5, Momoshiki Otsutsuki from Boruto the Movie, and Sakurai from Mob Psycho 100. And Eric Scott Kimmerer has been Haruyuki in Excel World, Takeshi Aiza from Your Lie in April, and Hydra Neil from Bloodlad. And I just realized this is like the third angry blonde character Eric Scott Kimmerer has played.
Oh shit, you're right.
Probably will not be the last.
No, that's the funniest part. Because we had Mob, we have Bloodlad.
We have his character in Your Lie in April. There's his character in Mob.
Don't forget Moggy.
Oh god.
Oh,
Moggy he plays a literal hothead because
I don't know if Alibaba really counts as like angry blonde kid.
He's on fire. It might as well be. Anyways.
I just decided, because you brought up Bloodlad, I want to do a fucking Bloodlad episode, because that shit is amazing. Just throwing it out there.
We don't reveal our secrets on air.
We have never discussed Bloodlad before, ever, as a possibility. Don't you start. God damn it.
Also,
anyway.
we do that all the time. What are you talking about?
Ah! And your bitch ass is called out. Ah.
Like, we're all inside baseball all the time.
Okay.
I love you, sweetie.
But yes.
Okay.
Okay.
I love you. I'm sorry. I'm channeling my inner Megan right now. This is how this goes today.
Okay, Tat Megan, would you like to go?
Okay, sorry. Yeah, I would love to. Okay, so Dorothea, Fallon, and Philip. So obviously, aside from weird lack of accents not being a thing, particularly for Fallon and Philip, because reasons. I mean, obviously that's the one thing that took me out of it again, but anyway. So I'm, out of the three of them, the only one I'm actually really familiar with is Eric Scott Kimmerer. So I'll save him for last. The other two I'm not too familiar with their ranges. However, Xander Mobius. The only thing I know him as, even though I've never heard him actually voice it, is Joker from Persona 5. What the fuck?
To be fair, he only says like a handful of lines in like the entire game. He's basically a silent protagonist.
I'm fully aware. Granted, I've not played or heard the game.
True.
But even then, it's like, you look at Joker's character. It's one of those moments where in my brain, I'm like, you look at Joker's character design, and you look at Fallon. Like, holy shit. Holy shit. Xander is rather burly, and he's rather tough sounding, like, bringing it down there to the baritone bass levels at points, and you can, like, he's the stereotypical muscle of the group. That's the stereotype that Fallon is, and what this role really calls for. And I think, aside from surprising the ever-loving fuck out of me with this, I think it was actually really good, because for Fallon, he can be snarky at times. He has this fun, sarcastic flair to him. Sarcastic, tough guy kind of flair, and I really enjoy that. And Xander Mobius just downright amazing. Tamara Ryan as Dorothea. She definitely brings a strong female presence to the group. Where did I put? She's mature and passionate, and that's probably the best way to describe Tamara as Dorothea. She's kind of the calm moral center of the group. One of them, anyway. The other one will probably get to next. And as one of the moral centers of the group, she shows such strength in the performance, and I actually really, really like that a lot. I may not be bi or gay, but Dorothea is hot. I will agree with my own boyfriend that she is actually kind of hot. But either way, like, in terms of performance-wise, it's a very strong moral ground, which is something, and especially in this group of characters here, I think that the show really needs, and I think Tamara portrays that very well. And then we have Philip. And Philip's a little shit sometimes. Like, not gonna front. He is a snarky and savage little shit. Which, to this point, with the amount of performances we've heard from Eric Scott Kimmer, he's played a lot of snarky-ass little shits. Snarky and savage little shits. It's so, in a way, it's in his damn wheelhouse, and I love it to pieces. But outside of that, though, Philip does have some inner complexities too, because like Jet brought up when we were introducing the character, for some reason he hates Yuli because a Sirius killed his parents. And I think one of the best moments was in episode 2. It was very early on in the series. When Yuli is injured, he's staying at a doctor's place, and he has this little daughter. Her name is Saki. And Philip is forced to stick it out there too, just to keep an eye on him and give Yuli some company. And at that point, it's pretty clear that Philip doesn't really like Yuli. But Saki, the little girl, at one point, she's like, well, why do you hate him if he didn't kill your parents? Like, this other, why be mad at him for someone else's actions? And, like, the reaction we got from that, and
little children calls out racism.
I know. It's like, oh, damn. And, I think the sudden shift in his character and his tone, and the more, and from there, like, he starts warming up to Yuli a lot more, and I love the interactions that Philip and Yuli have a lot. All three of these performances are very, very solid. A lot of them are surprising. Some of them I really need to keep an eye on, aka Tamara. And Eric, in terms of Eric, he has a bit more complexity aside from being the savage little shit. So I really enjoy these performances a lot.
Okay, Roots?
Yeah, I think the funniest story about Philip is, as we said, Megan was supposed to be on this episode, but while she was watching the first couple of episodes, I don't remember if it was in the Team Grimgar chat or to me directly, but she was just, oh god, he's gonna die, isn't he?
Whoops!
Which I'm kind of glad he didn't. Like, I love that this is Eric Scott Kimmer basically playing a little asshole. Like, I really like it when he performs that archetype, because he's really good at it. And I'm gonna be honest, I didn't even know that that Fallon was Xander Mobus.
Welcome to my world.
Like, I'm kind of familiar with his voice from other things, but, like, I didn't know he was capable of that range. I really liked it. It was really cool. And, I'm not really familiar with, Tamara Ryan, so, like, getting exposed to newer people is always a great thing. And I like her performance. I like how she basically keeps everybody else in line, and yeah, all good. Thumbs up.
Okay, Andrew?
Okay, so, first things first, I will say I am a little sad that these characters in the grand scheme of things didn't get to do as much as I was expecting. This became a little more of about two other characters instead of them, but these guys, well, I wish I could have seen or learned more about them. They were still plenty fun. Dorothea was very interesting. She is a strong female protagonist. She's into guns and kicking ass and having a lot of quips with her fellow cohorts, and also kind of bonding with Ryoko a lot in regards to training her in the ways of the female warrior, as well as being a wing woman, so to speak, in regards to her embarking on trying to court the Yuli, which was a lot of fun. Tamura is... sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Yeah, I was actually about to say, like, the dynamic between Dorothea and Ryoko is actually really, really fun. I enjoy it a lot. Like, Dorothea, like, being the badass big sister to Ryoko in a way. It was kind of fun, actually.
It was a lot of fun. And Tamura is a new name for sure that I'm less familiar with, but I think she does a pretty solid job playing this character and this particular archetype, and I would not mind seeing more of her in the future in regards to anime projects. Xander Mobus is already a actor I know is very talented and versatile when it comes to anime. So seeing him play a big, beefy Irish boy who is plenty of fun and all he wants to do is just give bear hugs and kill bear vampires is...
He also wants to fix cars.
He's a mechanic. He's
a mechanic.
He's good with his hands. He's a handsy boy, but he's not. He knows personal space.
Wasn't he the one who killed the big beefy vampire in the last episode? Like he was the one who dealt the final blow?
No, that was Dorothea, I think.
Okay.
It was Dorothea. He almost did, but it was Dorothea.
But either way, Fallon is very fun, and he's a very good boy, and I wish he could eat all the big steaks, because he deserves them. Philip is he's a little stuck-up asshole who's a little bit of a werewolf racist at some point before it's like, that doesn't make sense. Yuli didn't do that to your parents. And he's like, I'm getting told off by an 8-year-old.
Yeah, that was the greatest, like,
not a good look.
Fuck you moment.
But Eric Scott is a fun character, and he does a very good job doing this kind of, he's a little bit cocky, a bit arrogant, but you can tell he cares a lot more than he likes to let on about his friends, and especially about Yuli. And I think Eric does a stellar job bringing that out in regards to this character. He's fun, he's a little bit snarky, but you can tell he means well, and I think this group dynamic is a ton of fun, and I enjoyed them. I just wish they were a little bit more prevalent throughout.
Okay, so I will start with Xander Mobus, because I also gotta say this one was a little unexpected for me. I could kind of tell it was him in the previews, but for what I've seen of his work, I kind of associate Xander Mobius with, like, pretty boys, like Joker, so seeing him play a gruff beefcake was a little surreal for me, and it was definitely a very interesting casting choice. But while Fallon probably has the least to do out of these three, Xander definitely manages to give him a very goofy, if, kind of brass sense of charm, and it makes Fallon seem like the kind of guy you wouldn't mind grabbing a drink with. And a lot of his interactions with the other characters are just, like, a whole lot of fun. And I also like the, like, very little blankety miss it line where Fallon kind of mentions that the reason he works as a vampire hunter is, like, to send money home to his family, and I thought that was kind of nice. I wish he had a little bit more to do, but for what he had, Xander did pretty well, and I wouldn't mind seeing him in more of these types of roles. Tamara Ryan as Dorothea, on the other hand, I was actually a little bit mixed on. Dorothea, like, to me, felt like she was supposed to come off with, like, a mix of, maturity and sultriness, while also being something of the big sister of the group. And for me, I felt like Tamara only kind of got the latter half. Like, she was really good at playing up Dorothea's friendly side. I liked all her little moments with Ryoko where, she's, like, teasing her over a crush or trying to help Yuli get a clue. But a lot of her deliberate and more serious moments felt a little more uneven to me. And I couldn't quite buy into the character as easily as I could with everyone else in the show. I mean, I guess in fairness, Dorothea didn't really have a whole lot to do either, so, like, that didn't really help. I mean, like, I didn't dislike the performance, and I'm certainly up for hearing her in more things. But for me, I guess this wasn't, like, totally the best impression, and I hope Tamara Ryan is a little bit stronger in any future projects he does. And then lastly, we have Eric Scott Kimmer, and again, I have to say, what is it with this guy playing smug blonde kids?
I mean, wheelhouse.
Wheelhouse. So needless to say, Eric was pretty in his element with Philip. And for the first few episodes, he plays him as being very much a brat and overly hostile towards Yuli at every opportunity. However, his character starts to change as we learn a little bit more about his history. And when he realizes that, hey, there's no real reason to blame Yuli for what his people did to his parents, you start to see Eric's performance become a little bit more gentle. And I like that it not only makes Philip a little bit more likable as a character, but it also helps you tie it to Yuli's character arc as he starts to realize, like, hey, there's no reason he should have to fight his brother just because he's a vampire. And that, maybe leading a crusade against all vampires isn't exactly a very smart idea. It's a bit more nuanced than I was expecting from a very straightforward action show, and I really like that. So, as a hill, I'd say his other moments in Eric's Got Kimber were really good, and while I wasn't quite as impressed with Summer Ryan as he did well enough, and I'm curious to see what else he might be able to do in the future. And I guess with that, we can go to the next section.
It's time for the dad part.
Yeah, so it's time to talk about...
So many dads!
Yeah, it's time to talk about Yuli's two dads. Unfortunately, they are not a couple, but...
They are not, but fan fiction and Dojins can fix that now, can't it?
Oh, no.
Where there's a will, there's a fanfic.
You're not wrong. That's the worst part about it.
Okay,
Legitimate question. With all the wolf people, do the carpet match the drapes?
Oh, wow.
What kind of stupid question is that? The answer is yes, Andrew. They do.
Okay.
Alright, so on the one end we have Professor Willard, who takes Yuli in after the destruction of the Sirius tribe, and kind of serves as his surrogate father. While Alexei, on the other hand, is Yuli's actual dad, who fled Dogville. Yes, that is the actual name of the village in this show. He fled...
When you try your best, but you don't succeed. Damn this show writers. God damn it.
So he fled Dogville with the Ark of Sirius in order to seal the Ark away forever and to protect the future of his tribe. So playing Professor Willard, we have Ray Chase, and for Alexei, we have Katie Tang. Ray Chase has done such characters as Yukiatsu from Anohana, The Flower We Saw That Day, Zash Kane from Fairy Tail Dragon Cry, and David Shield from My Hero Academia, The Two Heroes. Katie Tang, on the other hand, has done such roles as Detective Looker from Pokemon Generations, Masaru Kato from Got Zero, and Osamu Dazai from Bungo Stray Dogs. So, Seth, would you like to start us off?
Sure. I'll start with KG first. Only because we really only have him for like an episode or two, in the last third of the show. But as Alexei's father, because the majority of KG's performance is flashbacks to the events that occur prior to present day, and Yuli gets to watch like everything that happened up until this point. But KG has a soft and passionate tone to Alexei that I honestly really enjoyed about it. He shows pride and determination because what he sets out to do, he's doing for the good of his home, for his family, for his people, and he's also trying to change tradition, basically, because tradition states, because it's a very poignant point, because it's a point that they make, because there's the person before Iba who was sent to investigate and find the Ark of Sirius. He went MIA. The story is he went to Dogville, he found Alexei and talked to him, and once they found out, hey, I'm looking for the Ark of Sirius, tradition mandates or dictates that the second they find out that someone's after the Ark of Sirius, you done kill him, you done goofed, you fucked up, you're dead. But Alexei doesn't want that at all. So he wants to change the mindset and this tradition. Like, can't we just coexist with people? Like, is this a thing that has to keep happening like this? So having that kind of mindset, that determination, having the pride that he has for his home village, I enjoy that a lot. Ray Chase is an interesting enigma. Because if you've ever heard us talk about Ray Chase before, you will know that half the fucking time we will call bullshit that is not Ray Chase. Oddly enough, this is not one of those times for me. Like, I could tell it was Ray Chase, which is very weird. Like, I don't know, maybe if I got used to it, because I saw the list that Jet gave me when I joined in, and then I was like, which one's going to be Ray Chase? I suspect it's this guy, and I was right on the nose with it. Ray is an interesting person. Ray's character as Willard is very interesting, because he's a hell of a dapper gentleman, for sure. He's a very dapper man, and he also has the strong tone, the strong leader tone that he has to have, because he's the one in charge of this group of Jaegers, and he's also at the same time rather complex because of some of the things that we find out later on, that he's actually more closely connected to Yuli and the situation than we were originally led to believe. So aside from being the dapper gentleman that he is, because Ray Chase is such a dapper gentleman and a goddamn chameleon, it's not even funny, it's weird that it's one of the few times for me that I actually recognize Ray Chase, because he just hides himself very well. It sounds... The closest actually it sounds to is actually probably David Shield. It actually sounds relatively close to David Shield, and that's probably why I recognized it very easily. But in general, I really do enjoy both of these performances, and Ray Chase just keeps flooring me with, like, downright awesome performances. So, I'm done. I'm done. These two are good.
Okay, Roots.
Okay, so that was KG Tang.
Yes, that was Crazy Tag.
Yeah.
That's like the third time in this episode where I'm just like, oh, that's somebody I should have recognized but didn't. God,
wait, the third time in this episode or just KG Tang in general?
Yes.
Okay.
Which, holy crap, like, casting of the show was good in this case. But,
yeah, totally.
I really like that KG gave, Alexei sort of that fatherly warmth, and, like, it was a really good performance, and I really liked it. And, I like that this is one of the few times where, like, Ray Chase is actually kind of being Ray Chase. Like, as Steph was saying, Willard is kind of a dapper gentleman. He's got an air of sophistication to him, and, like, I really like that Ray Chase was able to kind of convey this, because, you know, the accent thing kind of masks it a little, I guess, is the word I'm looking for. But I really like that, like, he is that gentleman badass.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, he is.
Like, he does that really well, and I think I've been on a few episodes where we've talked about him before, and every time it has been for something completely different. Like, Hunter x Hunter, Berserk, I want to say there was something else. Fate Apocrypha.
Fate Apocrypha, yeah.
I know for me, it's like this.
Hana. He's done a lot.
Hana,
He's done a lot.
Fairy Tail, Dragon Cry, definitely. So there's a few for me.
Like, dude's got some scary range, and
yeah, it's terrifying.
I have to applaud it here. Just as I have applauded it in just about every episode I've been on where I've talked about him. So, good job, both of you. Thumbs up.
Okay, Andrew.
Okay, so we'll start with Alexei, because I love KG Tang, and I love talking about KG Tang, but KG Tang doesn't get that much to do here. He gets basically an episode to himself to be a dad and give the MacGuffin to his son, but that's kind of it for the most part. I forgot that he was from Dogville, by the way. That's really... You want to talk about on the nose. Boy, I forgot
God
about that.
damn it, Andrew!
Okay, I mean in fairness, how is she supposed to know they're werewolves?
I don't know. Nobody wanted to pull a red rocket on anybody, I guess. I don't know.
Jesus Christ.
But yes, Keiji Tag is a very good, gruff, manly man dad voice, and I enjoyed hearing him interact with Yuli and be a dad for a bit, and that was cool. But you want to talk about dads, let's talk about Willard, because Ray Chase is a very interesting actor who you get to hear play a lot of different types of characters. And at this point, he's probably more convincing as men like half his own age at this point. And that's kind of what Willard is, while also simultaneously looking like a militarized version of a Ace Attorney character.
Oh,
Just a bit.
oh, wow, he totally looks like if Luke Atme was in the military.
He does look like him, doesn't he?
No, it's a cross of Luke Atme and Shelly the Killer.
God, he
Just
looks like the kind of guy who'd be on the defending side, just head in his hands.
Yup.
You're not wrong, and I've ruined that for you. Anyways, while
Thanks,
you
babe.
sit there in total despair, let me talk more about Ray Chase, because Ray Chase as an actor is really interesting. Like I said, at this point he's played as many characters that are like double his own age as his own age range, which is kind of interesting. But he's very convincing. He's very stern, tough, badass. But you can also tell he's very troubled. And while he doesn't always show it, you can tell he really does care a lot about Yuli. And he's very much prepared. Like, the day you find out the truth, I'm just ready to die. I accepted that. But he's surprised that his basically baby boy wants him to live. And does not want to go on a murder revenge spree. And wants to become a better person. And he's there, like, trying to help him out, chasing to the ends of the world, and Dorothea's being like, you're actually a lot more concerned about your baby boy, aren't you? It's like, I don't know what you're talking about. He's basically just a giant tsundere dad, grandpa man, military boy, and he is very interesting. He's really weird, but he's really cool, and he gets a couple of badass moments surviving in the bar, and just fighting a lot of vampires, and hellish monsters, and he's really good at it too. And Ray Chase as an actor continues to be very enjoyable to listen to. But yeah, this wasn't like a holy shit that's Ray Chase. That's like, oh hey Ray Chase, it's been a minute, glad to see you here.
Yeah,
which is not, like I said, I don't expect every actor to blow my mind every time I hear them in a thing. Sometimes it's just nice to hear them play something. I can tell it's them and they do a good job, and I could tell that was Ray Chase. And goddammit, he did a pretty stellar job as the military dad Ace Attorney man.
Okay, alright, so I've noticed Ray Chase has been cast as a lot more, like, middle-aged character roles lately, and I kind of would like to see him get cast as younger characters again, but, to his credit, he's proven to be very good at playing older characters, and this one is no exception. He definitely plays, Professor Willard as being, you know, a bit more refined and stoic than a lot of his other roles. But the business-like attitude he gives off definitely helps to give the impression that he's a man of experience, and I don't really have too much trouble buying into the idea that he's, like, in charge of this whole group. Even if his change in occupation from being an archaeologist to a vampire hunter is, like, a pretty big one, like, I'm really very curious how that worked out.
It's pretty simple. One day I got this ruin from the desert, and then a vampire kicked me in the dick. And from that day on, I swore I would kill vampires.
Wow. That's one way to describe it.
I was gonna explore some ruins, but then I got high.
And I got high.
God damn it. No.
You did it to yourself, sweetie. You fucking did it to yourself.
So anyway, speaking of that, while Ray doesn't get, like, too many opportunities to emote in this role, you can definitely feel, like, twinges of guilt over what he did to Yuli when Cursor reveals exactly why the Sirius were attacked. And Ray gives off enough nuance in a lot of his later scenes with Yuli that you can really tell that Willard's kind of come to care for Yuli like a son, even if he's not very expressive about it. This wasn't a super set-up performance for Ray Chase, but I really enjoyed him in this role. As for Keiji Tang as Alexei, while he wasn't in the show nearly as long, I felt like he had enough significance in his show scenes that it was pretty important to include the character here. A lot of this show's undertones, well, mostly the second half, kind of deal with the issue of xenophobia and the dangers of isolationism, and that can really be seen quite a bit in Alexi's flashback, as we kind of see him caught in the middle of the whole struggle between the Sirius tribe traditions, concerning how they handle outsiders and what will be best for the future of his people and his children, and you can really feel that struggle in Keiji's performance as he manages to convey these concepts with enough emotional sincerity that I felt like I understood Alexei pretty well, even if his time in the show was pretty limited. And it definitely did a lot to help sell me on what this show was attempting to go for, I guess. So anyway, I very much enjoyed both these performances, and while neither of these two quite qualified as very good dads, both had very good acting, so that worked out.
What are you talking about? Willard's the best fucking dad. Don't at me.
Honestly, on a dad here's the thing. From bad anime dad to good anime dad, he ranks about a 6.5.
Don't at me. He's best anime dad right now. At least for this show. Don't at me.
Okay, well, yeah, I guess for this show.
For this show, he's best dad, so don't at me.
Yep. And with that, it is time to get into some of our villains. Specifically,
No,
No.
wait, hang on, before you do that. We're not getting into them. We're sinking our teeth into them.
God damn it!
Andrew!
Okay, I kind of have to give you
You
that one.
go into the corner and
Thank
think about
you,
what you
Chad.
just done. Go in
Thank
the
you.
fucking corner, babe. Don't you applaud yourself, you motherfucker. Go in the corner and think about what you just done. God damn it.
Anyway, we have our two primary antagonists for the first and second half of the shows, respectively, Kirstner and Yevgrov. So Kirstner is another vampire royal who serves under Yevgrov and works to hunt down the Jaegers, while Yevgrov is the king of the vampire clan and wants to save his people from a mysterious disease using the knowledge from the Ark of Sirius. So playing Kirstner, we have DC Douglas, and for Yevgrov, we have Ben Diskin. DC Douglas...
Bullshit! Fucking bullshit! God damn it! No!
So anyway, DC Douglas has done such roles as Shoot McMahon and Hunter x Hunter, Vincent Pike in Mobile Suit Gundam Thunderbolt, and since this one came out very recently, Yoshikage Kira in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Diamond is Unbreakable. Ben Diskin has had such roles as Kai from Blood Plus, Darnik, Presto, Negative Millennia, and Fate Apocrypha. Yes, I actually managed to say that right. And,
I'm proud.
And Shoutmon from Digimon Fusion. Okay, now you can go ahead, Lilac.
These two performances, I'll start with DC Douglas first. Because, ironically enough, both Douglas and Ben each have a half of the show that they get to be the villains for. In terms of DC Douglas in the first half of the show, he has such a regal air about him. Because, yes, these are vampires, but they're also royals. That's made very clear. And DC Douglas has probably the stereotypical, like, snotty, rich, royal kind of vibe to him. And I think it works really, really well. Like, everyone is beneath him. He does not give a shit. Everybody must die. These Jaegers are a pest. They need to die. And it actually comes off really, really nicely, and I enjoy it so, so much. That is not Ben Diskin. I refuse to believe that is Ben Diskin. I fucking refuse to believe that's Ben Diskin. Like, normally we would call horse shit on Ray Chase whenever he comes fucking in here. But today it's Ben Diskin. God damn it.
Oh, it's him, alright.
That is not Ben Diskin. I refuse. I refuse to believe it. Holy shit.
I've played enough Kingdom Hearts to know when that's Ben Diskin, and that's Ben Diskin.
I've also seen Fate Apocrypha, and this is very, very similar to
I've
Darnik.
played nor seen none of those, so fuck you. That is not Ben Diskin. Aside from me freaking the fuck out, it's Ben also has this regal air to him, but he also, like, you can tell that this is the actual bad guy of the show because he has such very, very deep-seated hatred and, like, roots for, like, these evil deeds that he's planning, and the gears are turning in his head, and it's like, holy shit. And he has this real air about him as well, similar to DC Douglas and some of the other royals that we meet in the show. But in the latter half of the show, especially in the last third, where he finally, like, gets to the point where he gets what he wants, he suddenly becomes, oh lord, here, this is my note, okay? Ben gets super growly and desperate when pushed to the edge. And it kind of sums it up very well because, again, I have not heard Ben Diskin go that route before. If that has not been made clear at this point, I apologize. But no, I have not heard him go this route before. But, it's very different. Like, the only other time where I've heard him, it's like it's Bond from Seven Deadly Sins, but more growly. Like, even more growly. Like, holy shit.
Basically, if Bond didn't respect women.
Yes! Yes! Exactly like if Bond never respected women. Elaine would be sad and kick his ass. Anyway. But it's...
Let's be real here. The whole conflict between Bond and Meliodas is that Meliodas calls women thoughts and Bond calls women queens.
You're not wrong at all. That statement is not wrong at all, actually, which is funny and bad, actually. Anyway, no, but overall, like, for me, this is very different to see Ben Diskin play. Like, it's similar to some other roles that I've kind of seen. However, when he really, really gets desperate, as this character does, especially after what he finally does get what he wants, it becomes so intense and very, 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 like, growly and like, holy shit, now I'm terrified of this man. Like, what the fuck? But yeah, like, I think given the circumstances, and especially for me, having heard Ben Diskin in a variety of roles, this is extremely different. And I think it's potentially one of my favorite performances of the entire show. Potentially. But we still have 2 people to cover, so...
Okay. Roots?
Yeah, I really appreciate the fact that both of our villains had sort of that air of ham to them. That sort of aristocratic snobbery that makes you just want to punch them both out.
Oh, it's great. I want to punch their asses into the sun. Leave them to burn.
But while DC Douglas was sort of the more traditional vampire villain of the two, like, Ben Diskin just... He got handed so much scenery, and he chewed it to a pulp.
There was nothing left. There was nothing left when he was done. Everything was just destroyed.
Like, it is absolutely fabulous and hammy, and, like, I play Kingdom Hearts. I watch Fate Apocrypha. I know Ben Diskin as the bad guy. And this sort of plays on that a bit. But it's also, like, I gotta say, it's one of the most fun Ben Diskin as the villain roles I have experienced so far. Like, it is just beautifully hammy, and then in the last episode when he goes berserk, like, he just has to do all that guttural growling and roaring and...
Oh my god. I was done.
Just so good. Both of them are just so good. Thumbs up. Like... I don't know how much more I can add to what was already said.
Okay.
I'm sorry for stealing everyone's thunder right now.
Don't worry, I have plenty left to say.
Cool.
Okay, so DC Douglas is a refined, regal, badass vampire general who is pretty suave and pretty menacing and does a good job serving as the first central villain for a while before effectively getting offed by Yuli. Ben Diskin, on the other hand, is a very much, like, at first it seems like he has emotions and cares, because it's like, why else would you keep two bratty vampire children around with you at all times? But at the same point, honestly, everything around him and surrounding him is just one giant fashion travesty, because that man is just wearing a goth Hot Topic feather boa, and his vampire servant Mikhail is just, he's just wearing whatever that is. So at this point, he is menacing, he's chewing the scenery, he's growling up everything, and he's ready to swallow all the MacGuffins, and he just doesn't give a fuck. Like, at first it seems like his goal is to revive vampires, because we sort of forgot to mention this. A plot point in the series is that vampires are dying of a inexplicable disease that they can't really cure, and they think
never explained what it really is, actually.
If they get, oh yeah, we never actually called it either. The Arc of Sirius. Everybody in the show is after the Arc of Sirius, because the Arc of Sirius does
something.
It does plot. It is. You could literally just call it the MacGuffin. No. It is not a Deus Ex Machina. It is a MacGuffin.
Supposedly it has vast knowledge or something like that, but
I mean, literally just kind of swallows it and becomes a bigger, badder, eviler vampire man, and just kind of goes crazy but loses control. So, like, Ben Diskin is very much, this is what I know Ben Diskin is capable of, but every time he does it, he is chewing up all the scenery and being extra as hell, evil as hell, and it is a ton of fun, especially when the final battle happens, and that really cool battle in the sky happens between him and the two brothers, and it's really cool looking. But Ben Diskin is a ton of fun as this cat. What is his name again?
Yevgrov.
Yevgrov. Okay, by the way, not sure if it's been said already. The vampire names are fucking stupid. They're really dumb, but goddamn it.
The only actual good one is Agatha. That's it.
Look, they are dumb and fun, and this show is very dumb and a ton of fun, and it also looks goddamn gorgeous, especially during the fight scenes, because Masahiro Ando is capable of some goddamn good fight scenes. Anyways, DC Douglas and Ben Diskin were a ton of fun as our vampire villains.
Okay.
Can I just...
once he gets the arc, Ben Diskin's character should really get that eye looked at, because I think that's pink eye.
No, I was about to say, like, I know you were making fun of, like, the boas and shit, but didn't you know vampires are fucking fashion forward, Andrew? Like, come on now, that shit's in
they live for thousands of years. So.
Look, when you can't walk in the sun, nobody can tell you what looks good or not.
I think I can get over that he literally just has a top hat, but...
I know.
Oh god, I forgot the top hat. He looks terrible, but he looks amazing.
He's stupid and amazing at the same time. It's great.
Yeah. Okay, so for me, so I've heard DC Douglas in a few things, the most proud of those being Kamoshida in Persona 5. And while that character is also pretty despicable, Kirsten is a bit more sophisticated, if you will. Like, he's like that snotty rich dude who won't actually go around yelling racial slurs in public, but he definitely believes he's superior to everyone else. And DC Douglas's performance...
He was Kamoshida, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was Kamoshida.
Yeah.
So he's definitely the kind of guy who believes he's superior to everyone else, and DC Douglas's performance oozes that sense of slime very wonderfully. It's certainly an interesting contrast to his Kamoshida, and in a lot of ways, this guy kind of reminded me of Chris Rager's character from Yamato, since both feel very much like the kind of guys who would go on and on about belonging to the quote-unquote superior race. So needless to say, I was pretty happy to watch this guy get fried. And DC Douglas finding enough smugness to the performance to make that feel extra satisfying. And all in all, I was pretty impressed on this one. As for Bendis and Jezgrov, ooh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. So I said this way back in the Erased episode, but one of my favorite things about Bendis as an actor is that no two roles of his are ever played exactly the same. Like, even when he's using a similar vocal register that you can kind of recognize from another thing, he always brings enough energy to a performance to make each character he plays feel very distinct. This particular role is a lot more on the gruffer end of Ben's vocal register than some of his other roles. And he manages to ooze enough menace and swagger to make the performance sound very distinctive from the get-go. So, like Kirstner, Yevgraf is also very much aboard the We Are the Master Race train. The Master Race train, my bad. But whereas Kirstner is a lot more, like, flamboyant and condescending about it, Yevgraf is a lot more, like, apathetic to people who he believes are below him, and even his minions are no exceptions. So, one of my favorite bits of his was in episode 10 when he, monologues about the potential end of his race. And while you can, kind of tell that Yevgraf probably does maybe genuinely want to save his people, it's less because he cares about them and more because he, can't bear the thought of vampires not being superior. And Ben's delivery gives off a sense of a mix of anger and pride. It kind of helps to make that scene feel, a little bit more intense than it probably needed to be.
Plus, once he swallows the Arc of Sirius, he's like, okay, now I'm actually superior, so fuck all of them.
Yeah, it kind of seems like at the same time he has, because remember the scene where he's talking to the elders, which, by the way, all three of the elders were fucking upside down. I'm like, how can you survive that for, a set period of time?
Okay.
It definitely seems like he has, some
vampires.
kind of, yeah, I know, well, blood rushing to the head, what the fuck? But, anyway, it seems like Yezgrov does kind of have some kind of inferiority complex to an extent, too. Because the others are like, fuck you. What are you fucking doing? No.
I mean, also, to be fair, your blood can't rush to your head if it doesn't move.
This is true. This is true.
My point being, this character seems to have a slight inferiority complex because the elders are just like, nah, man, if we die out, we die out.
Oh no, I hear you. But I just had to make a joke.
That's the point I was getting at. But yes, make jokes.
I had to do the pointed head joke.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, so of course, as good as all the serious stuff is, it would be a Bendis performance without some fun quality ham. And when Yevgraf gets his head on the arc and goes nuts, Ben goes equally nuts, and it makes Yevgraf getting demolished all the more satisfying. He also gets a lot of, really good one-liners, too, when he goes nuts. There's this really prominent one I remember where, he's mocking Yuli and he says something akin to, oh, you're a flea bag, it's fitting that you would die on all fours. And I was like, oh.
Oh my god, yes. That was great. I'm like, oh my god. Making dog jokes. No, the majority of the dog jokes came from just Ben. That was it. I was done. It was just Ben who made the dog jokes, basically.
Plus, you want to go about the whole master race thing. He's literally being racist to the dog people.
Yes, he is, actually.
Speaking of which...
yeah. Yep, okay, yep, it is finally time to get to the dog people here.
And the half-dog person now.
Yep, so we have our last two characters, Yuli and Mikhail.
I like to call this section Two Stupid Dogs.
Werewolf bar mitzvah, spooky, scary, boys becoming men becoming wolves.
God
we went in two different directions with this, but I respect your neutrality either way. Anyways, Jet, who are they?
So Yuli is a werewolf thought to be the last of the Sirius tribe, and has devoted his life to hunting down vampires to avenge his family, whereas Mikhail is his brother who was thought to be long dead, but was turned into a vampire by Yevgraf in order to help him find the Ark. So
it's the Seraph complex all over again.
Except this time they're actually blood related.
They're actually blood related this time.
Yeah. And only one of them looks like they shop at Hot Topic.
Two brothers who are actually brothers.
Bravo.
You're bringing Rick and Morty into
suddenly, UFOs appear, and... God, I used to be able to do that whole, like, impromptu Rick and Morty thing, and I can't anymore.
You're better off for it. Anyway.
So playing Yuli, we have Kyōdan, and for Mikhail, we finally get to talk about Billy Comets.
Hey!
Is it Comets? I've been trying to figure this out. Is it Comets or Comets?
I honestly have no idea.
One of those
Billy! His name is Billy. That's all we need to know.
Anyways, what have these two done, Jet?
So Kyōdan has done such roles as Ray Kiriyama from Mars Comes In Like a Lion, Brian Brandon from Be the Beginning, and Flat Escardos from Fate Apocrypha, and also Guy Ogata from Sword Guy the Animation. Billy Comets, on the other hand, has done such roles as Yuya Kanzaki from Aiko Incarnation, Metal Lee from Boruto Naruto Next Generations, Josuke Higashita from JoJo Bizarre Adventure, Diamond is Unbreakable, and Sei Ichijo also from Sword Guy the Animation.
Oh yes, the two leads from Sword Guy the Animation are the two leads in Sirius the Jaeger. We can now talk about them in a better show.
So hold on. Sword Guy was also on Netflix, yes?
Yes.
What does
And it
that
was
fucking
also-
tell you about Netflix?
Well, it's less about Netflix and more about the hilarity of Bang Zoom casting. Which, by the way, we brought this up. This is a Bang Zoom dub.
Ta-da!
Anyway.
Oh, where do I even start? Because it's at the beginning I said that I've never talked about these two ever before in my life. I am not familiar with these two ever before in my life.
So, with a blind perspective to both of these actors.
Here's the extent of my knowledge of Billy and Koi. At Anime Fest, I only watched one episode of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Diamond is Unbreakable with everyone. And as for Koi, I only watched one episode of March Comes In Like a Lion when Andrew was visiting me for New Year's. That's it. So my knowledge of these two is extremely limited. Like, holy shit.
So you're giving the freshest opinion. So
Oh,
let's hear it.
absolutely I am. So, starting off with... I'm gonna start with Kyōdan, actually. I think Kyōdan, as Yuli, is... He starts off rather subdued. And considering the character trope is like the angsty fucking teen out for revenge, it's not Sasuke levels of angsty, revenge-driven teen, but you kind of get where I'm going with this. But throughout the course of the show, like, I think Koi kind of grows into his own. Like, he has a wall built up. He's very revenge-driven. But as the show goes on and you start learning about him more and he starts getting to know people, I think especially with there's two relationships he has where I think he really kind of starts bringing the walls down and trusting people. It's his relationships with Willard and Philip. Like, he suddenly now has, like, a father-son relationship with Willard, which is something he doesn't have because at this point he doesn't have really any family. And his only family at this point is with the vampires. So that kind of sucks. And then you have... Philip is basically, I would say, he ends up being the best friend in the situation. Despite them not... Well, I can't say Yuli didn't like Philip. It's not really implied if he ever liked him or hated him or anything like that. Despite the relationship being kind of heated, in a sense. But, like, as the show progresses, I think Koi got to be able to relax a bit more, got into it a little bit more with the complexities that Yuli has and the moral questioning and the ethics that he has to go through in terms of, but my brother's a vampire. I said I was going to kill all vampires, but wait, what about this and this and this? And it kind of, I think for him and his character arc, it leads up to a really nice conclusion where he decides that he wants to create a world where everybody can coexist, at least on fairly equal terms, whether it's a Sirius or a human or a vampire. And I think it's very interesting seeing that through line for Yuli's character, and I think Koi portrays that very well. Billy Komet's here. He comes off at first kind of ominous in a way. It's a very both ominous and rather stoic. Like, you don't see his true intentions. He has this wall up, so nobody can get in and nobody knows what's going on. But you see in the flashbacks, and then I think as the series progresses, you start to see his true intentions. Like, he's doing everything he can to keep his little brother alive and to help him, like, stay away from all these problems that he's been dealing with for the past, 10 years, I think it is. But I'm kind of, I'm between the two of these performances, I'm kind of floored by Billy. Like, I'm probably the most impressed with Billy between the two of them, because probably more because Mikhail. Thank you.
Yeah, Mikhail.
It's Mikhail. They pronounce it as Mikhail.
The serif comparisons don't help with a name like Mikhail.
Mikhail.
Just call him Mikey if you're having trouble.
I'm calling him Billy. That's his name. Billy, I think Mikhail's character has probably one of the more complex through lines. Even more complex than Yuli's is, actually. Because you see this turmoil that Mikhail is going through from, like, oh, look, I'm being forced into being this vampire and being this blood pack with this stupid asshole, and doing his bidding, and he lets me do what he wants. Like, he lets me do what I want. And then all of a sudden it's like, nah, fam, you failed one too many times. Your ass is grass. And he just, like, controls him, and it's just, the minute where Ben Diskin's character starts really actually putting the full control of the blood pact or blood bond with him, it's like, holy shit. Like, Billy is gone. He goes almost primal at some points with it, and it's just, holy mother God. And you feel bad for the guy. He's gone through enough as it is, and he only wants to do things to help protect his brother. So I think both of these gentlemen, like, as my first full-fledged outing with both of them and hearing both of their voices and their ranges, I loved them to death. They were fantastic. But in all honesty, I think Billy really impressed me more between the two, mostly because of the character of Mikhail itself. But yeah, I really love both of them.
Let's start with Koidao. I like how he started the show off as, like, a little ball of angry, and, like, I love how his character just sort of complicates as the show goes on, and, like, it's a fun performance, and I really like Yuli's character arc, especially at the end when he has the arc in his body, and he just does that monologue with the vampire twin, and whatever happened after that happened after that. We're not gonna dig that back up. But but I like that he just has these moments where he can be, like, angry, and then he gets these really quiet and subtle moments. And, like, God, I'm really happy I get to talk about Billy Comets, because unfortunately, I had Toonami for a long time, and now I don't, so I don't get to watch Diamond is Unbreakable.
At least you have Toonami. At least you had Toonami, period.
Look, it's gonna be on TV sooner. Not TV. It's gonna be on DVD sooner or later.
Oh yeah, I know. But this is, like, the first time I really get to hear Billy Comets and, like, talk about him here, and I really like his concerned brother performance, and, like, in the last episodes when he goes berserk, like,
oh my God,
it's all good stuff.
I felt for him.
They both did a real good job. Like, thumbs up. I really hope to see Billy Comets in, like, a lot more, and Koidao has just impressed me with just about everything I've seen him do, so, yeah.
Okay, Andrew.
I'll start with Billy as Mikhail, the vampire fashion disaster that he is. First and foremost...
You mean vampire fashion forward that he is.
Whatever.
Don't even front.
Regardless, Billy Kometz as Mikhail is very interesting. He sounds very casual. Like, he has a very distinct and interesting, appealing voice. You can tell he's an older Big Brother kind of character, especially with the origins of them in the past in Dogville. But also, just as an FYI, I love the Edie of the show because it's just the two of them.
Cute.
It is the cutest thing in the world, and it makes my heart melt every time, and I love it.
I love it too.
But Billy is he does a very good job being this dramatic, conflicted character who's trying to choose between the cage that he's living in or the home that he used to know. And it's really compelling to see him interact with Yuli and the things he'll do to try and help his brother out, the things he wants to help out with. And those battles where they work together are really cool. And the final battle is like really tragic but kind of badass at the same time. I think Billy Kometz has a very distinct voice. And pretty much in the past year or two, he has really made a huge name for himself. And while I'm not going to say this is like the best he's ever been, he does a pretty stellar job with this role. Kyōdan as Yuli, though. Kyōdan is an actor I was already super impressed by in March Comes In Like a Lion. I adore everything he does with Rei Kiriyama, and I want that season 2 on streaming as soon as fucking possible, please and thank you. But as Yuli, this is basically, what if Rei Kiriyama was Eren Yeager? Which I now realize the irony of the fact that he's a Jaeger.
Oh my god.
And now
You
realize
went there.
I went there because it's the same thing, is that his goal is, I want to kill all the vampires,
Oh,
aka,
God, you're
I want to
right.
kill all the titans. But that's his goal through half of the show, because vampires killed his brother and his family, and then he's like, oh wait, no.
Clearly, my
brother,
Sasuke Uchiha connection does not fit anymore. It
It doesn't fit anymore.
It's Eren Yeager. You are not wrong.
But here's the thing that I find really interesting about Yuli as a character. He kind of drops being Eren Yeager and is like, I don't think I actually want to kill them all anymore.
Good.
What do I want to do? This isn't what I want, but what do I want to do?
Good.
I have to find that path for myself.
Sorry, you should never go full Eren Yeager.
Especially in current manga chapters, but that's that's for another time. But yeah, no, he finds his self. He finds his self. What is it? Self-searching, self-reflecting journey that he goes on to find what he wants, because he doesn't want to just kill the vampires. He actually wants to help and work together and coexist with different races. He wants to coexist with the humans. He wants to coexist with the vampires. He wants to coexist as a representative of his tribe. And it's kind of interesting to see a character like him go from angry, angsty, I want to kill everything, to I want to help everybody. I want to help my brother. I want to help people. And I think that's really interesting and admirable. And Kyōdan does a stellar job showing that empathetic, that angry boy, like, that angry boy who wants to kill and murder and go feral, and also this empathetic person who wants to change the world for a better. And then by the end of the show, he basically becomes an immortal wolf god. But yeah, no, I really enjoy Kyōdan a lot as Yuli. Yuli was a much more interesting, enjoyable character than I was expecting him to be, and I was kind of compelled by both him and Billy as Mikhail. They did a stellar job, and they basically, like, held the show for me.
For me, starting with Billy comments, it kind of sucks that we haven't really gotten the chance to talk about him until now, but he also happened to star in some shows that weren't very good, and also JoJo's, but figuring out how to cover that as a whole other issue entirely. Either way, I've really enjoyed him in basically everything I've heard of him so far, and this one is no exception. So for the first few episodes, he plays Mikhail as being very aloof, since, we aren't totally sure what his deal is at that point. While there's like occasional hints of antagonism in his voice, you never really get the impression that he really wants to harm Yuli if he can help it. And it turns out that was very intentional, because we eventually find out that he's just being controlled by Yevgrov through their blood pact. And from that moment on, he plays Mikhail with like a very strong sense of warmth that makes it pretty easy to feel sorry for what happened to him. especially in episode 11 where Mikhail kind of breaks out over his failure to protect his only brother, and Billy's performance really did a lot to help Mikhail stand out to me more than he probably would have, and it really makes me hopeful that we'll see Billy in a lot more things going down the line. And also I gotta say, like, Mikhail got done dirty at the end, but...
I mean, at least, here's the thing, at least they didn't cop out and bring him back. I would have been very mad as a cop-out to bring him back, though.
Fair.
Okay, yeah, this is true.
Like, the second if that happened, I would have been done. Like, it is as much of a bad moment it is, and it's like, no, we don't want to see him go. It's like, it would have been a complete cop-out if they revived him, in all honesty.
Right.
Okay, as for Koi now, seeing him here as Yuli was very interesting for me, because the last time I saw him as a lead character was Guy Ogata in Sword Guy, who was so inherently edgy of a character that his arm is literally a sword that brings nothing but pain and misery to his loved ones. Like, that is literally a plot point in that shit.
I know nothing about Sword Guy. This is a fucking thing.
Yeah, it's his sword is it's his arm is literally a sword. And his whole thing is that, oh, this sword arm brings nothing but pain and misery to people. Like the sword arm possesses him and makes him kill people. It's really weird.
It takes the phrase down sword arm to a whole new level.
Like, fun fact, like, somebody involved with Garo was involved in the manga of Sword Guy. I can't remember who. I think it was one of the writers.
Oh no!
I think it was like whoever. I think like whoever designed the armor did.
Okay.
It was like the designer of Garo, I think.
Lord.
Yeah.
Okay, that explains
Down, sword
stuff.
Down, sword hand.
Okay. So, needless to say, I was pretty worried Yuli might be a repeat of that. When he started off the show feeling bloodthirsty for revenge, but that goes away pretty quickly, and Corey's performance ends up being a lot more nuanced than I was expecting. Over the course of the show's run, Yuli goes from wanting to avenge his fallen people and, exterminating all the vampires, to realizing that, hey, some can be good, hey, some are good, some are bad, and, there's good and bad people in any race. And he decides to instead dedicate his life to honoring his people by coexisting with others. It's simply not the route I expected the show would go in, and Koi manages to make every aspect of Yuli's transformation feel believable. So much so that I'd have a hard time narrowing out just one specific scene that stands out for him. But I guess if I had to, though, it would probably be the confrontation between Yuli and Professor Willard. Right after Yuli discovers the truth about why the Sirius were attacked. Mm-hmm. And it was a good one because, Yuli was going through a lot of mixed emotions through that whole bit. And kind of questioning if he could ever, really bring himself to hate the man who's raised him. And Core's delivery got all that across pretty well, and I was really impressed by it. So I can't quite say this is, my favorite Koi Down performance because, Rei Kiriyama from Mars Comes In Like a Lion exists, and that'll probably always be a tough one to beat, but I'd put this on a pretty close second, I guess. And with that, it is time to move on to final thoughts.
Oh, I guess it means me, huh? Mm-hmm. I didn't expect to enjoy this show as much as I did. And, side note, first of all, because this didn't get brought up, one, the music is pretty awesome, first of all.
Oh, yeah.
And two, what's funny is the character designs remind me a lot of Bungo, which is very weird. And I mistook this as a Bone show, and then I learned it was PA Works. I'm like, wait a second. And then I looked at the character designers. I'm like, these people didn't even work on Bungo. What the fuck? Anyway,
to be fair, Matsuhiro Ando, blah blah blah, Bones.
Ah, yes. Okay, there it is. But anyway, that being said, this show, the show itself, not the greatest thing in the world, not as outstanding, anything like that. The dub itself, though, is really solid. I like the casting, I like the direction, the writing is solid. Again, kind of like what I was saying at the beginning, it brought some good performances from actors that I've never heard of before, because again, I don't talk about California dubs that often, unless Jet drags me into shit. And then it has a mix of performances from actors that I'm heard in name only, but haven't really heard anything, aka Billy and Koi. And then it has what the fuck this thing does not exist, aka Ben Diskin. But overall, it's really solid it's actually a really solid dub for a show that's maybe not the greatest thing in the world to me. It is a fun show though. It's very much a fun show, a good, easy marathon, like popcorn material kind of thing. And if that's your kind of pace, you're gonna love the show, and I think you're gonna love this dub as well. So overall, very solid dub efforts. Kudos all around. Bravo. Yes.
Yeah, this is a really fun, dumb show, and, like, I had a lot of fun watching it. The dub is really good and really solid. I just kind of wish we would have been able to talk about this, like, 4 or 5 months ago. Like, as it was finishing airing in Japan, because Netflix. Yep.
Yay, Netflix.
But on that side of things, I'm kind of glad they're going with more the ONA self-distribution method for stuff like Ultraman. But it's kind of a not here nor there matter, but it does need to be brought up.
Look, we've talked about Netflix and their models here and there. We've said all we could at this point.
But yeah, it's just one of those things that annoys me about this, because I was really looking forward to this show last summer. So, but I'm glad that Bang Zoom got to spend what time they needed to get this dub really nice and polished, get everything ready to go, because it's a very good and very solid dub. I would probably own this if the opportunity ever arose.
I will say that I don't think the show itself is a standout piece of media or something I'm going to remember in the future down the road. That being said, this is a show that is a ton of fun, looks really good, has some great action, has some very fun character moments, and has a very strong dub attached to it. I very much did enjoy a lot of things with these characters. Some characters I wish got used more, especially the likes of Ryoko and the entirety of Yuli's Jaeger Squad. But there's some surprising character moments that really did give me a surprise, and some endearing, interesting, empathetic moments. And it's a show that's kind of goofy and dumb, and it feels like a show that is aware it's kind of goofy and dumb. So I'm never, upset or angry. It's just kind of it feels like it knows it's goofy and dumb. It's vampires, werewolves, and sometimes Frankensteins, much to my girlfriend's anger. But it's a ton of fun.
Why you bring this up? Yes, it's very self-aware, in all honesty.
It's a ton of fun. It's an enjoyable 12-episode watch. I had a lot of fun watching it, and the dub is pretty damn solid.
I mean, screw it. If we're gonna go that route, let's bring in the creature from the Black Lagoon, the Hunchback of Notre Dame. Let's do it. Do it, guys.
Why you have
Season 2.
Sorry, that still made me mad that they half-assed it. Andrew, why you do me dirty like this? You bring up Frankenstein's monster again. Why? Why you do me dirty, honey?
Keeping my mouth shut at the phrasing. Jet, please move on.
That was on purpose.
Okay, so this show was a little bit of a surprise for me. I came in expecting some good, dumb fun with vampire hunting, and while I certainly did get some of that, this also provided some occasional insights into, things like the dangers of xenophobia and the importance of family, which was a little bit more than I expected what we would get from an otherwise very simple action show, so I thought that was a little nice, even if the show didn't, totally capitalize on that stuff. The dub certainly helped with a lot of that, as a lot of the performances really did a lot to throw me into the show's atmosphere. Well, not every single one of them was a knockout. The ones that delivered really, really delivered, and it helped to make this a very solid experience. In a sea of great shows from 2018, it's kind of a shame this flew under the radar a little bit thanks to Netflix. But hopefully now that it's available, it'll get a little bit more traction since it's a pretty decent little series. And on that note, since we've brought it up many times, if you want to check out Sirius the Jaeger, you can currently only do so on Netflix.
Dull surprise.
More or less, but...
I mean, but it's okay, because as we speak, you probably have a Netflix account, or you probably know, 10 people with a Netflix account, because who doesn't have a Netflix account, so...
Mm-hmm.
Look, you could sponge off somebody, and you probably already have somebody sponging off of you if you're not already sponging. Anyways, you can watch it on Netflix legally in English, Japanese, and several other languages.
Yes.
Indeed. So, before we go, do you guys have anything you want to plug real quick?
Anyways, my name is Andrew, aka Classy Spartan. You can find me over on Twitter at MangaMan9000. You can also find me as a moderator for the Funimation forums and Discord, as well as a co-host podcaster for Surreal Resolutions podcast ONA.
My name is Stephanie. You can follow me on Twitter at Lilac Anime Review, with review being spelled REVUE. I also have a blog, lifeandtimesoftaku.wordpress.com, which I need to update, which I haven't done in a while. I'm terrible at it. I'm sorry. I'm done.
Okay. Roots?
Yep, Roots of Justice on Twitter. Hi. Blog stuff coming soon.
Hi, Roots. How are you?
Okay, as for me, you can find me on Twitter, Jet in Neverland, or at Divine Nega, where I will usually be talking about cartoons or anime or what have you. I also occasionally write things on my blog, Animation Infinity. This season I'm doing reviews for The Promised Neverland. You can also find me on Podcast ONA alongside Andrew and some other fine people, where we occasionally talk about anime news and stuff.
As for... are you... I was gonna...
Oh, no, you can do that. Go ahead. I don't remember the whole thing.
As for Dub Talk, you can find us over on YouTube at Dub Talk Podcast. You can also find us on Twitch, Tumblr, Instagram, and I think it's Twitch, Tumblr, and Instagram, one of those. Anyways, if you like
Twitter?
what we do... And Twitter. Twitter, that's the big one. We use
Twitter's
that one
the
regularly.
big one, babe.
Stop. Oh, let me do the thing. Okay, thank you.
It's not even your responsibility, you asshole.
Okay, anyways, you can also, if you like what we do, you can offer us a Ko-fi and give us a little money, and yeah. If you like what we do these weekly, and it's a ton of fun, and if you made it this far, thank you very much for sticking with us, and we hope you tune in next time.
Yeah, so thanks everyone for tuning in, and Otaku on, I guess.
When you try your best, but you don't succeed.
I don't have an ending for this. I'm trying to think of what we
I just gave you one!
Do-do-do-do.
Something.
Do-do-do-do.
Do-do-do-do, do-do-do-do, do-do-do-do.
Yeah!
Good night, everybody.
こぼさまぜ